Okay, this video has probably been a long time coming, and I am going to lay in to the things that are happening on this planet, what is going on politically, what's going on medically, all of this BS that is happening is just it's absolutely amazing because it just allows you to see the truth. Well, what is the truth? The truth really is different for everyone, isn't it? Right? You can hear it when if you watch any of those hearings that they have, the congressional hearings with, the Democrats versus the Republicans. You've got your truth, and then you've got my truth, and then, there's science. That's the best. Follow the science. Isn't that a good one? Well, whose science is it, right? Who's paying for the science? My point is, it's all bullshit, okay? Everything that is happening right now, there is one reason for this. Okay, it's not to really empower you, right? From one side, it's to control you. Okay, to keep you limited, to keep you small. The science will come out in a way that is going to serve whoever it is that is behind the studies. Okay, that will be seen as truth. Why do we see that as truth? Well, we see that as truth because we have a belief that we could actually trust these people, right? These people are in powerful positions, and we must be able to trust them. I was just watching an RFK Jr. hearing that was on live. They had Democrats and Republicans. They're asking him about what's happening in the CDC and the fact that he is now removing these mandates and actually taking away the COVID vaccines because the data just doesn't support it, right? It's not safe. Well, back in the beginning, if you remember with COVID, these vaccines were the lifesavers, right? I didn't hear anything in this hearing, at least the part I was listening to, about all the damage that these vaccines had done to people. In fact, a lot of that data is coming out now, right? So it was serving in the moment back then to be able to utilize fear to cause people to turn to the institution that they trust, which is the medical profession. And we're going to dive into the medical profession in a few minutes here and talk about that, okay? But my whole point being, what is truth, right? None of this is real. This is all happening to awaken you. You have opportunity by opportunity to awaken to the fact that, you know what? I'm a little bit more powerful than I thought I was. I've been spending years giving my power away to these institutions. And now, based on the political climate, what we are seeing is that a lot of these institutions, probably all of them, are self-serving. It's follow the money. Where is the money going when it comes to the politics and government, medical profession, war, all of these things? Follow the money, and you can see exactly what is controlling people. It's the idea of the money. Everybody wants to accumulate as much as they can, and people will do things against their better judgment to do just that because we've been programmed in a lack mentality that we need to do these things. And people, unfortunately, will ditch their morals, they'll ditch their inner voice, and they will follow the crowd. They will support fake science. They will create a truth that serves them despite the evidence out there, right? To empower themselves. Now, when these people become empowered and these institutions are wealthy beyond belief, beyond what's necessary, right? In order to accumulate that kind of wealth, that kind of energy, it needs to come from somewhere, and it's coming from you, okay? Maybe not you specifically, but the you who had this belief that you don't have the power to heal yourself, as a good example, right? Or you don't have the power to make decisions that are right for you, okay? I'm listening to this hearing, and they're grilling him about taking vaccines away from people, and he's saying, I'm not taking vaccines away from people, and they're saying, well, the insurance companies aren't going to cover it. Well, okay, we're following the money again, right? These narratives are all bullshit, all right? It's all about one thing. It's about accumulating wealth, and it's about accumulating power. So you want to be able to see where the opportunity is to bring the power back to you. All right. Now, COVID's the biggest example. It's the best example. It came along to offer you an opportunity to awaken, and many people had fear and they were controlled by those limiting beliefs, and they ran to their medical professionals and they took their advice, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's where you were at that point, and that's okay. You were doing the best that you could, okay? And for me, I was in a position where I was able to see through it all. In fact, not just intuitively, and of course I had my guides, right? But logically, things weren't adding up, things weren't making sense. Okay, for example, how could you have a death rate on one hand and say that you don't have enough tests on the other hand, right? So how does that work? Things like that were where I was able to just see through all of the nonsense, and knowing that I didn't feel like I had to get vaccinated against something because I felt like I didn't have a threat from it. Okay, despite what the media was telling me, despite what the medical profession was telling me. Okay, when we look at the medical profession, years ago when we were growing up, you had a lot of independent doctors. These doctors were actually practicing medicine. They were able to serve their patient in the best way they could. But something happened over the last couple decades. The insurance got so expensive for many of them that they were forced to move into these large medical groups, these large hospital groups. Okay, and in these groups, they were then controlled. They were told what they had to do, what they had to do. Right? They didn't have the ability to practice freely. They were being controlled. All right, and now if you try to find an independent doctor, it's nearly impossible. You have to go to these big groups, and these big groups, they own the labs, they own the pharmacies, right? They own the doctors, they own the surgeons, and they're going to do whatever it takes to increase the profit margin, all right? That's the goal, okay? So a lot of these amazing doctors were sucked into these situations, and I know a bunch of them that work for these big corporations and felt like they didn't want to get vaccinated, and these corporations, these medical groups, were putting mandates on there that you had to get vaccinated to keep your job. So, and that, from that perspective, they felt like they were disempowered, like they needed to do this in order to keep their job because they were tied to the job. Okay, so it's like their situation was an energy sucker, an energy vampire, and they felt very disempowered. So that's one reason for it. There's other reasons, higher dimensional reasons for that. With we could talk about like reptilian energy and all this type of stuff. But at any rate, it all comes down to the fact that we're operating from a bandwidth of frequency that was very disempowering. Okay, so the people in these organizations, whether they were conscious of it or not, I think a lot of the lower level people were not conscious of it. They were just following orders and following directives, right? And doing what they were told from the superiors. But I think the higher you go on the ladder, you start to become conscious of the fact that we're profitable, a for-profit business, and we need to make money. And hey, this is a good opportunity to make money without going into whether the virus was released on purpose, whether wherever it came from, or whatever. My Pleiadian guide had indicated to me, regardless of how the story from the 3D perspective, COVID arrived as an awakening agent. Okay, that's what it was. All right, and if you felt disempowered and you felt the fear and you were in fight or flight and survival mode, and you were told that you were going to die unless you took this vaccine, you may have taken it, and that's completely okay. All right, I work with people who have family members who have taken it, or people that have taken it themselves, and they've alchemized the energy. They help others to alchemize that as well. You have the power to do that. Okay, you are a powerful being. Okay, and this society is set up to get you to believe otherwise. Okay, so I'm watching this hearing and I'm realizing how much bullshit there is in it, and how certain groups of senators are trying to create a narrative or create a false truth. And RFK Jr. is up there just saying, look, we don't have data that these things are not harmful, right? They put a statistic up. I think a child between birth and up to the point where they, I guess 18, when they could vote, they've been jabbed 76 times. I think it was 76 times. That's mind-blowing, okay? Now, it's not about being anti-vax or pro-vax. I think it's about having a choice. And I think it's about realizing that, hey, you know what? Maybe the medical professional doesn't quite understand how my body works and how I could put my body in a position to better heal itself, okay, without taking chemicals and preservatives and things that aren't necessary, okay? But, my power to heal, okay, is it can't be monetized, I guess, right? So that's a bad thing from their perspective. From my perspective, I don't know. I just trust. I trust in being able to see through these narratives. Is just mind-boggling, right? It's just to see that these people that are in these government positions are twisting things, twisting the truth. They're creating a narrative. They're using follow the science, which has been created on the heels of a funded of a narrative. It's all bullshit, okay? We are in the age of the Great Awakening. It is up to you to start to realize how powerful you are, okay? They're not out to serve you. They're out to make money, okay? When was the last time your doctor talked to you about your diet, right? I mean, it rarely happens. There are some out there that do. And like I said, there are amazing doctors out there. A lot of them were forced by the system to go work under this umbrella of these big medical conglomerates, okay? And they don't have the freedom to practice like they did. It is a very different age now, okay, when it comes to that. I still see a lot of people, older people. My parents were very much like this. The doctor's word was God's word. And I saw them go through horrific scenarios and horrific situations that certainly didn't serve them, okay? So when you start to see through all of the BS, and again, it comes down to politics too, right? Where it's always there's good, there's bad, who's right, who's wrong. You got to look at this and say, okay, well, what is serving me, right? What is serving me, okay? We see it. I live in Illinois, and our governor is really a piece of work, okay? I'm going to put that out there and say this. And the guy, the decisions that this guy makes is not for the people, okay? It is not for the people. It's just unbelievable to me, okay? We see outrage with shootings. There are shootings across the country. There was a school shooting a week or two ago, which is absolutely horrific. But in Chicago, I don't know, 10, 20 people get killed each week. That's not a problem, right? It's like, what's going on here? What's happening here? Why aren't these people being seen? Okay, and now we've got groups in the Chicago area that are speaking out and they're coming forward and they're asking for help, right? They want the president to bring the National Guard in to clean up the city. So those are, you could be on one side of that or the other, whatever it is. My point is, why are we allowing or turning our head away from suffering in certain areas and focusing in to certain other places of suffering and other tragedies, right? And when you look at it from a neutral perspective, you realize that it's all being steered by the media. Okay, I haven't talked about the media yet, but the media is just another extension of these big conglomerates, right? It all stems down from government. Same thing with the education system. Okay, you're being steered. You're being steered through the education system into a set of beliefs, right? And for this video, I'm not going to get into it deeply, but that you need to acquire skills to get a job. Okay, so you have what you need within you, and you have the ability to find it within you. Okay, so these are old beliefs. With the internet now, you can learn pretty much anything in very short order. All this information is out there. Now, I'm not saying you're going to go out and you're going to study how to become a brain surgeon through watching YouTube. Okay, there are certain situations where you need to be educated, but if we get into those education curriculum, you could probably strip out 3/4 of it and then add some stuff in that really promotes healing so that these these doctors and these surgeons actually are better equipped to help to empower you. Okay, but right now, everything's set up to disempower you. When you turn on the news, it's all about the shootings, it's all about the fear, it's all about the guns, it's all about this stuff, and we're gonna save you. Okay, we're gonna save you because we're gonna get politicians to run that are gonna help you. Have you guys noticed? Comment in the comments section about this, that none of the problems get solved, right? They don't get solved. Okay, well, we're actually seeing some of it now with immigration and all of that. Things are changing where some of the laws are actually being enforced, right? But a lot of times nothing ever gets solved because if they solve the problems, they got nothing to run on, right? So they can't divide you. So when you can't be divided, you become strong. You become strong individually and you become strong collectively. And that's what we're doing here, is we're starting to see through all the nonsense. We're starting to see through all the games. We're starting to see through all the mechanisms and psychological crap that they use to program you, right? And we're starting to laugh at. I mean, I'm watching this hearing and I'm hearing some of these questions, this RFK Jr. hearing, and I'm just busting out laughing because it is so obvious to me how they are trying to steer and control a narrative. All right? You have the power. It is within you. Okay? Stop giving your energy away to the system. When you become disempowered, the system becomes empowered. All right? Take your power back. Stand in center, aligned, neutrality. You detach from these false old timelines, right? None of this is real. You created all of this. Everything is happening just to show you where you're giving up your power. Start to see it and bring it back in. Sure, your ego is going to pop up and say, well, what if I'm wrong? What if I need that vaccine? Or what if I need that? And that's okay. You want to feel that, okay? And maybe you're not at the point where you realize that you do have a tremendous ability to heal within you, just as one example. That's okay too. But it doesn't mean that you don't work on it every single day. That's what we do in A New You. We remind ourselves and our power and our ability to heal, and the fact that we exist beyond this physical dimension, the fact that we exist where our guides are, right now, and we work to connect with that, right? That's what we do in my A New You program, right? It's the deep healing work. It's the connection work. In fact, if you're interested in learning more about that program, I'm going to drop a link in the description for a free masterclass where I dive into the details of that there. So check that out. But you're far more powerful. My advice to you now, what you can do in this moment going forward, is remind yourself that what you're watching is a movie. None of it's real. Start to see where fear is being used to control you. Start to see where things are being twisted for a certain outcome. Start to observe where the money is flowing. Remember, money's energy. Okay? We pay taxes. It goes to the government. The government sends the money out to these various organizations, right? These organizations you need to use fear so that you can justify paying these ridiculous amounts of taxes. All right? Otherwise, you're going to say, why do I need to do this? Right? You're going to question their very existence. And that can't happen, right? Because it disempowers them. They don't like that. So observe where the power is being handed back to you. Observe where you are being given an opportunity to see through the false, the fake, the corrupt, so that you could start to see what is really happening. Now, what is really happening? This is an ascension timeline. All that was unconscious, that was controlling you, is becoming seen. This is the time to see it. It's all up. If you're ready to see it, you will see it. And as you see it, you're going to realize that all of this is happening for you so that you could start to turn inward, start to anchor more into your body, open up your lower chakras, get your energy moving up into the heart space. Because once it comes up here, your whole reality changes. You start to vibrate in alignment with the new earth frequencies. And you start to actually see that and experience it in your reality. Right? But you've got to be able to shake loose the density that's been keeping you disempowered. So from this day forward, when you experience anything throughout the day, start to look at it from that discerning eye, from a place of space, from a place of groundedness and anchoredness in the body. And you'll start to see through all of the bullshit that's being flung out there, right? As these old, outdated systems, I was just watching it today with the government, are trying their best to maintain control, to maintain power, and boy, they're using fear to do it, okay? Because they know there are a lot of people out there that succumb to that, to fear. That they feel like if they use fear, people are going to become very disempowered and they're going to willingly give up their energy to these organizations, these constructs that are in the midst of dying as we speak. You are here to see that. You're here to contribute to it. You're here to become empowered, take your power back, and start to experience amazing new realities.